The breaking point. Captain Ilara Vega stood at the viewport of the diplomatic vessel Harmony, watching the massive Galactic Consortium station grow larger against the backdrop of stars. The station resembled an intricate snowflake, its crystalline arms extending for kilometers in every direction, housing representatives from over 300 spacefaring civilizations. After decades of interstellar exploration and 2 years of intensive negotiations, humanity had finally secured an invitation to join the consortium, supposedly as equals among the stars. Quite the sight, isn't it? Ambassador Devin Liu joined her at the viewport, his formal attire impeccable despite the 18-hour diplomatic briefing they just endured. Impressive, Ilara admitted, though I can't shake the feeling we're walking into something we don't fully understand. Liu smiled tightly. That's why Earth sent its most perceptive security chief along with the diplomatic team. Your paranoia is an asset, Captain. The diplomatic reception proceeded with all the pomp Ilara expected. Exotic foods that molecular analysis deemed safe for human consumption, musical performances from a dozen worlds, and endless introductions to beings of every conceivable shape and form. The Arcturians with their crystalline bodies that refracted light in hypnotic patterns. The Moravians, whose 4 arms moved with unsettling grace. The insectoid Zith, whose translators struggled to convert their clicks and pheromone bursts into comprehensible speech. Throughout it all, Ilara watched and listened. While Ambassador Liu and his team smiled and engaged in pleasantries, she noted the subtle hierarchies at play. Newer species clustered together, while the ancient races, those who had founded the consortium millennia ago, held court from elevated platforms. The humans are remarkably adaptable, she overheard a Zith representative clicking to a tall, blue-skinned diplomat. Their resource-rich system will be a valuable addition. Indeed, the blue being responded. Their technological development curve is interesting, though primitive. They've only just mastered basic quantum folding. Ilara moved closer, her translator capturing every word. The integration schedule seems accelerated, the Zith observed. Phase 1 extraction usually begins after 10 cycles, not 3. The Council believes their system's rare mineral deposits warrant expedited protocols. Their star system contains significant quantities of element 315. We've already positioned mining operations in their outer belt, disguised as research facilities. Ilara felt her blood run cold. She maintained her neutral expression, sipping from a glass of iridescent liquid as she drifted away. This wasn't what Earth had signed up for. The consortium had presented itself as a collective of worlds working together for mutual benefit and advancement, not a predatory organization targeting newer species for exploitation. Over the next 6 months, the evidence mounted. Dr. Maya Chen, Earth's lead scientist on the Technology Exchange Program, discovered that the consortium was providing humans with outdated tech, systems they considered obsolete by centuries. Meanwhile, consortium observers cataloged every aspect of human innovation and resource production. During a closed session of the diplomatic team, Maya slammed her datapad down on the conference table. They've been lying to us from the beginning. The shield technology they promised is 3 generations behind what we already have. The medical advances they're generously sharing were developed by the Arcturians over a millennium ago. Ambassador Liu rubbed his temples. Are you absolutely certain? I've cross-referenced their archives secretly. They don't even bother hiding it well. They don't think we're capable of understanding their classification systems. Trade Director Santiago Rodriguez added, the resource quotas keep increasing too. They've demanded another 15% increase in rare earth exports, while the technology imports have decreased in quality. This isn't a partnership. It's colonization by bureaucracy. Ilara had been conducting her own investigation. I've confirmed unauthorized mining operations in the Kuiper Belt. Consortium ships disguised as scientific vessels. They're taking our resources without even bothering to honor the exploitative agreements they forced us to sign. The breaking point came without warning. The Ganymede Research Outpost, home to 200 of Earth's brightest scientists and their families, went silent. Initial reports suggested a catastrophic life support failure, but when the emergency response team arrived, the evidence told a different story. Precision energy weapons had targeted the outpost's main habitat dome. There were no survivors. Footage recovered from the outpost's external cameras showed vessels matching Moravian design, though the Consortium Council immediately denied involvement and suggested the attack was the work of non-aligned pirates, or possibly even human extremists seeking to destabilize relations. In Earth's unified government assembly, the mood was somber as Captain Vega presented her findings. The Moravian vessels identified at Ganymede match a specialized strike force directly under Consortium Central Command. They weren't pirates. They were sent deliberately. But why? President Adeyemi asked, her voice tight with controlled anger. What possible reason would they have to attack a research station? Dr. Chen stepped forward. The Ganymede team had recently made a breakthrough in quantum shield technology, something far beyond what the Consortium had provided us. Something they claimed was theoretically impossible. Understanding dawned across the assembly. The Consortium wasn't just exploiting Earth. It was actively working to prevent human advancement that might threaten the established order. For 3 days, Earth's leaders debated their response. Military action against the vastly more established Consortium was suicide. Diplomatic protests had proven ineffective. Legal challenges within the Consortium's justice system were futile when the judges were appointed by the same council that sanctioned the exploitation. On the 4th day, President Adeyemi addressed the assembly with a proposal unprecedented in Consortium history. For generations, humanity has looked to the stars with hope and wonder, she began. When we discovered we weren't alone, we celebrated. When the Consortium invited us to join their galactic community, we thought we had found our place in the universe. We were wrong. She activated a holographic display showing the evidence Ilara and her team had gathered. The unauthorized mining operations, the technological sabotage, the systematic exploitation, and finally, the Ganymede massacre. The Consortium doesn't want partners, it wants subjects. It doesn't seek cooperation, it demands submission. They have taken our resources, restricted our growth, and now they have taken our people. Adeyemi's voice never wavered. I propose something no species has done in the recorded history of the Consortium. I propose we walk away. The assembly erupted in shocked voices. Complete withdrawal. The president continued once order was restored. Recall all personnel from Consortium space. Close our borders to Consortium vessels. Redirect all resources currently being exported to internal development. Accelerate our defensive capabilities. After hours of debate, the assembly voted. The measure passed with an overwhelming majority. Earth would become the first civilization to voluntarily withdraw from the Galactic Consortium. When Ambassador Liu delivered the formal notice of withdrawal to the Consortium Council, the chamber fell silent before erupting in laughter. High Counselor Xerxes, a being resembling a mantis with luminescent skin, regarded Liu with what translated as amusement. Ambassador, surely your government cannot be serious. No civilization has ever withdrawn from the Consortium. The benefits of membership far outweigh any misunderstandings that may have occurred. The decision is final, Liu replied, placing the formal documentation before the council. Earth thanks those who have shown us true friendship. For the rest, we bid you farewell. As Liu turned to leave, Counselor Xerxes called after him. You'll be back within a cycle when you realize how vulnerable you are alone in this galaxy. Liu paused at the exit, looking back at the assembled representatives of hundreds of worlds. Perhaps, but I think you'll find that humanity has a long history of surprising those who underestimate us. With that, Earth's last official representative to the Galactic Consortium walked away, setting in motion events that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The Silent Revolution. Operation Exodus began without fanfare. No dramatic announcements, no threats, no ultimatums, just a systematic, methodical withdrawal of every human from Consortium space. Ambassador Liu and his staff closed the embassy. Diplomatic personnel packed essential belongings, and transport ships arrived on schedule to evacuate them. Across consortium territory, human businesses began transferring operations back to Sol system. Research projects were downloaded and wiped from consortium servers. Financial accounts were closed, and properties were liquidated at discounted rates to create quick liquidity. Commander Rio Sharma oversaw the logistics from Earth's military command, coordinating the evacuation of over 12,000 humans scattered across 27 worlds. Priority extraction for government personnel and their families, she ordered. Civilian advisories at level red. All individuals to be accounted for. The operation moved with quiet efficiency. No explanations were offered to bewildered alien partners. Human merchants simply closed their shops. Human technicians completed their current repairs and declined new contracts. Human researchers packed up their labs. Human tourists cut their vacations short. A Moravian trade minister confronted the departing human delegation on their manufacturing world. You cannot simply leave. We have contracts, agreements, supply chains. Check Section 22.4 of your contract. The human representative replied calmly. Force majeure includes governmental withdrawal from interstellar treaties. All contracts are legally terminated. By the third week, the consortium finally realized this wasn't a bluff. An emergency session was called, but no human representatives attended. By then, nearly 60% of humans had already departed consortium territory. They'll come crawling back, High Counselor Xerxes assured the Council. No species can survive isolation in this galaxy. There are too many threats, too many resources required. The humans are making an emotional decision. They'll reconsider when faced with reality. Meanwhile, in the Sol system, humanity was far from idle. Freed from consortium restrictions and focused by the potential threat of retaliation, Earth's scientific community accelerated research across multiple fields. In a vast underground complex beneath the Marianas Trench, Dr. Elena Kuznetsov led the most significant research initiative in human history. 5,000 scientists from every discipline worked in a facility stretching for kilometers beneath the ocean floor, safe from potential orbital strikes. The quantum displacement field is stable, Dr. Kuznetsov announced to her team. The device before them looked deceptively simple, a series of interlocking rings surrounding a metallic sphere. Initiating test sequence. Energy flowed into the device, the rings spinning faster until they blurred. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then the sphere vanished. Phase transition successful, called out a monitoring technician. The object has transitioned to subspace. The team erupted in cheers. Dr. Kuznetsov allowed herself a brief smile before focusing again. Initiate recall sequence. The sphere reappeared precisely where it had been. Congratulations, Dr. Kuznetsov said quietly. We've just revolutionized transportation, communication, and warfare. And the consortium has no idea. Across Earth and its colonies, similar breakthroughs were occurring. Without consortium regulations limiting their development paths, human ingenuity flourished. The defensive network that General Okonkwo had assembled incorporated technologies the consortium had never imagined or had abandoned as impractical centuries ago. 6 months after Earth's withdrawal, the first signs of trouble appeared in an unexpected place. Fashion. The Arcturian textile industry, famous for luxury fabrics across the galaxy, began missing deliveries. Their designers had built their reputation on garments incorporating human silk, a simple fiber that, for reasons of galactic biochemistry, no other world had managed to replicate successfully. Without warning, the supply had vanished. Within weeks, the industry collapsed. Thousands lost their jobs, and Arcturian economic indices dropped sharply. Then the Zith power grid began experiencing cascading failures. Their fusion plants started breaking down one by one. It emerged that for the past year, the Zith had outsourced maintenance to human contractors, drawn by their lower costs and reputation for solving problems. Those contractors were gone. The Zith engineers, having grown dependent on human fixes, struggled to maintain the systems. Brownouts spread across their major cities. The pattern repeated across consortium space. Human innovations had quietly become essential to dozens of critical systems. Their primitive solutions had been integrated throughout consortium infrastructure, often without acknowledgement. Now worlds were paying the price. The consortium's galactic financial network, which processed quintillions in transactions daily, was operating at 40% capacity after losing human-designed security protocols. 3 major medical facilities had lost access to diagnostic systems developed by human researchers. Transport networks experienced delays as routing algorithms failed. 1 year after Earth's withdrawal, the consortium was in crisis. High Counselor Xerxes had been removed from office, replaced by Counselor Tulara, who called an emergency session. "We must face an uncomfortable truth." Tulara addressed the council, her 4 eyes blinking in what humans would recognize as stress. "We have become dependent on a species we marginalized." The humans were not simply resource providers. They were innovators whose contributions we failed to recognize or respect. The council chamber, once a place of orderly debate, had become a scene of barely controlled chaos. Representatives argued openly. Accusatory appendages pointed in all directions. 3 factions have formed in the consortium. Commander Sharma reported to President Adeyemi via quantum-encrypted channel. "One wants to apologize and negotiate our return. One wants to attack us militarily. One is simply blaming everyone else for the failures." "And the military option?" Adeyemi asked. "They've gathered forces at 5 junction points, but our intelligence suggests they're divided on strategy. Half their fleet is experiencing maintenance issues. Turns out human engineers designed critical components of their navigation systems." President Adeyemi nodded thoughtfully. "Continue monitoring. We need to be ready for any possibility." The first diplomatic overture came 18 months after withdrawal. A consortium vessel approached the edge of Sol's system, broadcasting on all frequencies. Emissary vessel Concordia, requesting permission to enter Sol space on a diplomatic mission. Earth's response was transmitted after 12 hours of deliberation. Permission granted. Limited escort. 1 representative only. The meeting took place on Titan base, neutral ground away from Earth. Counselor Tulara herself had come, a sign of how serious the situation had become. The consortium acknowledges past misunderstandings. Tulara began carefully. "We propose a new relationship, one based on genuine respect and equitable exchange." Captain Vega, now Admiral Vega and Earth's chief negotiator, listened impassively. "The Galactic Consortium needs humanity's innovation, your unique perspective." Tulara continued. "We offer reinstatement with special status, exemption from standard resource quotas, and access to our highest technological achievements." Vega studied the alien diplomat. 2 years ago, your predecessor laughed when we withdrew. Now you're offering special privileges. What changed? Circumstances evolved. Tulara replied diplomatically. "You mean your systems are failing," Vega corrected. "You discovered that the primitives you exploited were actually keeping your civilization functioning." Tulara's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. Earth's contributions were undervalued. "And Ganymede." Vega's voice hardened. 200 dead researchers and their families. A terrible tragedy. Those responsible have been removed from power. Admiral Vega activated a holographic display. A massive starship appeared, unlike anything the consortium had ever seen. This is the Dawn Horizon, the first of Earth's new fleet. Phase-shifting hull, quantum displacement drive, adaptive shield matrices, technologies your council claimed were impossible. Tulara stared at the image. All 4 eyes widened in shock. "Humanity doesn't need the consortium anymore," Vega continued. "We've advanced more in 2 years of independence than in a decade under your restrictions, but other species still suffer under your system. What are you proposing?" Tulara asked cautiously. "A complete reformation of the consortium. Equal representation for all species regardless of technological development. transparent resource sharing, collaborative research without restrictions, and accountability for those who authorized the Ganymede attack. The ancient races will never agree to such terms, Tellura protested. Admiral Vega smiled slightly. Then perhaps it's time for a different kind of organization, one that truly embraces cooperation over exploitation. We've already been contacted by 17 species seeking alliances outside the consortium framework. Tellura's translator struggled to convey her shock. You would fragment galactic civilization, create chaos. We would create choice, Vega corrected. The consortium can evolve, or it can watch as a new order emerges. Humanity turned its back once. We won't hesitate to do so again. But this time, we won't be alone, and we won't be vulnerable. As Tellura's ship departed Sol system, Admiral Vega stood at the viewport of Titan Base, watching the tiny light vanish among the stars. President Adeyemi joined her, both women contemplating the future that lay ahead. Do you think they'll agree to our terms? The president asked. Some will resist, Vega replied. The ancient races have controlled the galaxy for millennia. They won't surrender power easily, and if they choose conflict. Vega thought of the Dawn Horizon and the fleet that followed it, of the technologies developed in humanity's brief isolation, of the alliances forming with other species who had endured the consortium's exploitation. Then they'll discover what Earth has known throughout its history, she said finally. Sometimes the most powerful statement isn't what you say or what you do. It's simply walking away and building something better. Across the vastness of space, a message traveled from world to world, species to species, a whisper of hope for those who had long accepted their place in the consortium's hierarchy. There is another way. Humanity has shown us. We need not accept what has always been. The galaxy trembled, not with fear, but with possibility.